all we have to do is just notice that sense of being. But there's always a feeling here, that, or sometimes a feeling here that I need to do something. And so, yeah, I say I'm not alone. So it's, and what popped in my head just as I was settling down, so to speak, was that I was not this body, but I was still something, not no thing, but something. And that in order to see clearly, this is all happening in seconds or milliseconds, I guess. I needed to grab this red ball that just showed up. There was just an impulse, grab the red ball. And as I went forward, it just bounced away. And suddenly it dawned on me, well, of course it would, because, you don't need to have the ball. I mean, it's just, that's just mental fury, so to speak. I mean, it's just motion kicking up to draw away from the truth of the fact that whether we notice it or not, awakeness is always here. So we don't need to do anything to notice it. We just we just need to quit not noticing it. And we not notice it because we're chasing a red ball of our own version. And it's, did I cut off the stove? I mustn't forget to get gas when we leave. Whatever it is, we get distracted by relativity, and that's universal. It doesn't stop there. It's here too. And this idea that I need to hang on to something or do something it's pretty compelling until it's just seen through. And the only way I can see through it is to first notice that that's what's happening. Notice that I'm being pulled back to relativity and back into the dream, which is the dream is not comfortable, but it's safe in the sense that it's the dream we know about. And truth, we really don't know what it is. We don't know the why of it. We don't know the where of it. I mean, it's just because there is no where of it. It's here, and there's nothing but here. All of this, it is the very here-ness of here. So coming down to noticing that sense of being is I need to turn my attention right backwards and answer the question, who wants to notice it? Who wants to notice this sense of being? There's a desire to notice the sense of being. But that desire is coming from the sense of being. So the sense of being wants to recognize itself, but it wants to do so in some way other than this. And so we think we got to reconnect, we got to get somewhere, we got to do something. And we don't. We just have to be ourselves. And that's so simple, but it seems to be almost impossible, doesn't it? It's just to just be. What am I supposed to do? Well, just be. Well, how do I do that? And well, you don't do that. You just be that. So you just call in the reins, pull on the reins of the wandering mind, and just notice that there's something here. You can't say there's nothing here. You just, you can say there's nothing here in, well, you can say that. It's just that it's not. Here, there's no thing. but it's not the same thing as nothing by a long shot. This no thing has a very distinct presence. It has and this no thing, attention would like to find that no thing, but attention is that no thing. That's what's really happening here. We're just when we say let's just notice the sense of being, it means let's just reverse our attention. That's the only doing necessary, is to reverse this pull to look outward. As we look outward for everything, and we really can't find what we're looking for out there, because there isn't an out there. There's just here, and you are here, and this is all here. No there, just here. And this here-ness has billions of different faces. It's the spine of a leather book. It's the gilt on a picture frame. It's the luster on a bronze statue. It's the comfort of my butt on a cushion. All of this sense of being, its fears and its fears, its experiences, its comforts, all of that is internal. All of that is there's a point of view. There's a point of view. And the we want to notice that this is the point of view, and what is it that has it? What is it that has this point of view as it looks through any one of these units? Because it's the same no thing looking through all of these eyes. It's the same one that's looking oneness, that's looking through all of these eyes into all of these rooms and having all of these experiences. But it's just one. It's not that these differences are the difference in appearances and the difference in the different sensations. But there's just one. If we can sort of ground ourselves, which is what we're attempting to do now, if we can sort of ground ourselves in the fact that there's just one, then we can see why we only need to be. That's really all we can do. We can be. Doing is out of our pay grade. or we have somebody below our pay grade who does it for us, any way you want to look at it. But it's not our job. Our job is witnessing. But that doesn't mean that we're witnessing real stuff. And when I say we, I mean we that are one. It feels like, and we get the story through sensation, that we're looking at something real, that this is a real experience for a real person. But the thing is that from the viewpoint of consciousness, they're no separate entities. There are appearances here. You know, if we look at the face of the clock, we see it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. The hands go round and round. The face of the clock changes, but the clock doesn't. The clock remains the same all the way throughout. And this is the clock face. And we are the clock. No one pays attention to us, not even us. And that's what we're trying to do now. It's just to bring attention to attention. One thing that the one thing that attention never pays any attention to is itself. And you'll notice everything on the planet wants attention. When you see a flower stretch toward the sun, it wants that attention. And don't let me give the rose a brain, but there's an intentionality behind it, just to get more light, more photosynthesis. And there's actually no story here. There's no what is this? There's no what is this about? There's no how long is this? Where's it going to go? What's going to happen? There's no story here except for the story in our heads. And each one of these heads has an apparently separate view. And it certainly has a story of separation. And it is from the sense of separation that all of our troubles arise, all of them. The only problem there is on our planet is misidentification. If you can get right with identification, all other problems disappear. It doesn't mean that everything is fixed relatively. It just means that everything is as it is. It's not a problem. It doesn't need to be fixed. It doesn't need to be adjusted. If my view, so to speak, if the Fred view from this body is such that there's something wrong out there, it's a projection of what I know to be true, which is there's something wrong over here. Because there's nothing wrong out here. The wars, the poverty, the starvation, all of it. It just is as it is. We don't know what it is. We don't know what should be here. We have no idea, but we make all these wild accusations. We think God is cruel or that, whatever. And that could never, ever, ever be true. And the great part is none of it's really happening. Everything that we think to be kind or everything that we think to be cruel, that's a judgment coming from patterns that have clustered close enough or whatever that there's a projection that there's a me in the center of those patterns. And the moment there's a me, there's an argument. The moment there's a me, all these patterns should be serving me. But I don't even know what I am. I just know that everything should be going my way whenever I am. And the first thing I notice is that nothing is going my way ever. I mean, even if I've got the perfect day, I'm going to find something wrong with it, even if it's nothing more than the fact that this will never last. But if we just be, then we are outside the realm of judgment. When we come out of misidentification, when we can recognize that this accusatory instrument is part of the mix. It can't stand aside and stand back and judge what's going on. It is what's going on. And it's only the sense of separation that makes us think that this is not a perfect world. When I say a perfect world, what I mean really is that it is the way, everything is the way it has to be. There's no such thing as that everything is as it's supposed to be. That's assuming that there's a center and there's a judgment point and this is the way things should be. There just isn't that viewpoint. Everything is as it is. What we can say about this is. And if we want to follow up with that, the only thing we can really see, and it cannot be otherwise. It cannot be otherwise. And coming face to face with it cannot be otherwise is a great way of short-circuiting all the problems. Because the problems arise from our speculation on how things should be, what should be. But if I really am honest, I don't know how the world should be going, unless perhaps, of course, there is the possibility that it should be going like it is. And can I simply step off of the route of comparison? There's no comparison. There's this, and there's no comparison to it. There's nothing sort of like this. There's nothing almost like this. They're just this. And it's beyond comparison. It's beyond comparison simply because there is no comparison. And when there is no comparison, this is. And if I'm not wrapped up into being an individual, I don't have any complaint with what is. So we want to know how do I get there? How do I get to that place? You're already there. Only thing you have to step away from is the belief that you're elsewhere. Is the belief that you're not awake. You are awakeness itself. There's no such thing as not awake for you. You can't wake up again. You can't wake up more. There are thousands of gradations of clarity, and you can go through those. And that's what you're doing. That's what we're doing here, is we are consciously going through these gradations. We're consciously going through our experience in the world. And we're not sleepwalking. We have our eyes open. We have our eyes open, but we're not judging it. In the myth of Adam and Eve, what did they do? They they ate of the tree of knowledge. Suddenly they knew that there was right and wrong, there was good and bad. They were naked and they weren't supposed to be. And this is all myth, but what I'm saying is that the myth was a spiritual teaching, like so many myths are. It grew out of a spiritual teaching. The spiritual teaching was the tree of knowledge is poison. Your opinions are killing you. Because in the absence of a Fred, there are no opinions here. There's an experience, but it's not Fred's. Whatever is here, it develops opinions about this. It does. And it develops complaints. It does. This is not a complaint-free unit, as many people would speculate. The good news is that whatever I am, I don't take this unit's complaints seriously. It's been bitching ever since I met it. I don't think it's going to stop, right? Why should it stop? It's only my idea that this thing shouldn't be bitching. Because enlightened people are always peaceful. Said who? We're peace and its absence, that's part of relativity. That is part of experiencing. Without experiencing the opposites, there's no relativity. And no relativity, there's no possibility of awakeness coming to notice itself objectively. There's no chance of awakeness having the blundering experience of being a human being on planet Earth. And this blundering experience, it's not all pony rides and Mayshine. It's just not. It's not all perfect. To Fred. But in the absence of Fred, perfect only means the only way it can be. Take a deep breath of the only way it can be. Breathe in with this is the only way it can be. And then breathe out with there's no comparison. Oneness has no comparison. Look at the word. It's just, this stuff is so simple. So, I'm not saying it's easy, but I am saying it's very, very simple. And that's what keeps us in the dark. Because our busy minds want to make a story out of everything, make it and pass judgment on everything. Because both those things are an indication that there's an independent entity here, having a real live independent experience. And of course, that's just not true. But we chase that. We chase that into suffering.